A nation is a people who believe as a one and have some kind of a binding for each other. Now, nation does not necessarily mean the state. State and the nations are two different categories in political science. State as a sovereign and as a power. Nation is an idea about the group, about the community.
Nation is a modern concept. There was no notion or idea of the nation in the pre-modern times, prior to the 17th century, one can say. With the rise of capitalism and expansion of imperialism, a new sense of community came into being.
The group of people living in a particular territory, sharing a common culture. Now, broadly, a culture is the language, certain idea about their own past, and certain rituals. So that was a commonality among the culture, and that culture really bonds them together as a one.
So a kind of a sense of an inclusive community arose, especially in England and then in other countries as well. And this is how the idea of nationalism, which was secular, which was inclusive, which was based on this new technologies which were facilitated by capitalism, that made this sense of a community possible. A very eminent political scientist called Benedict Anderson has written a seminal book on nationalism. It's called The Imagined Communities, in which he talks about all these things. And he, very interestingly, he calls the community an imagined community. What does it mean? It means that the community comes together through this print media and other changes taking place in society, but they don't really know one another. But there is something common that binds them. So that is why it is an imaginary community.
Challenge. You got to enjoy it, and there he looks like at the moment he's enjoying it. Easy on the stars. This guy will not ball in straight lines, Wani. We get the ball a bit of shit every time.
India as a state, the present state, kind of a territory that we have, it has come with the Britishers. These territories were never won in the history in the past, not even the Ashoka time or the later on also. First time, this was the administrative category kind of a thing. Now, when the country got independence and the freedom movement the whole idea of a nation, just because those who are leading the freedom movement wanted mobilization of people across the territories, from Assam to south, and these are the British territories. What can they be a binding force? And this binding force is the idea of a nation. Now, we should not forget that within this idea of nations, everybody participated against the British, but did not feel one as such. See, more often they're forgotten that the Tamil Nadu, till the 50s, were demanding a separate state outside the Indian Union, because they considered that the North Indians are the Aryans and they are dominating about it. Over a period of time, that demand has almost ignored and forgotten about it, because the Tamil people have developed an interest, I would say the stake, in the Indian Union. So they did not require diplomacy. So once the people develop that stake and the unity of the larger things, slowly the separatism diminishes about it.
So nationalism is seen as a construct that deviates one's attention from the real issues, which is the class discrimination, and in other countries the caste and other forms of discrimination. So women, for instance, would find nationalism very problematic in that sense, because nationalism would want to suppress all differences in order to create a kind of a unified or single idea of identity. It obliterates all differences of all kinds. So that's very, very, very problematic.
वेजलपुर
ये वाला
ये वेजलपुर है पूरा,
आगे
आगे जुआपुरा,
पीछे मकरबा। अच्छा, और ये रोड को क्या कहते हैं?
ये सोनल वाला रोड,
सोनल वाला रोड। अच्छा,
वेजलपुर से होके सोनल तक।
सोनल तक, अच्छा। और इसको बॉर्डर भी कहते हैं?
हाँ, बॉर्डर भी कहते हैं।
क्यों?
पूरे पीछे जो है वो सब मोमेडियन एरिया है।
अच्छा,
तो मिनी पाकिस्तान बोलते हैं।
मिनी पाकिस्तान, छोटा है पाकिस्तान दूसरा। सब लोग वो लोग इधर आते हैं, यहाँ से सब लोग उधर जाते हैं, ऐसा कोई नहीं है।
अच्छा, तो पर उसको पाकिस्तान क्यों बोलते हैं?
वो लोग ही ऐसा बोलता है कि ये हमारा मिनी पाकिस्तान है।
अच्छा,
वो लोग ऐसा बोलते हैं।
अच्छा, क्यों?
अब तो वो तो उनको मालूम है।
नाम तो बताओ।
अयाज।
और तुम्हारा?
आमिर। समीर। समीर, तुम पारो ना यार।
मैंने सुना इस एरिया को छोटा पाकिस्तान कहते हैं।
नहीं, इस एरिया को नहीं, इससे आगे जुआपुरा है ना स्कूल।
अच्छा,
छोटा पाकिस्तान।
क्यों?
सब वहाँ के डेंजर है।
क्यों?
खतरनाक लोग हैं।
मतलब भारत नाम क्यों रखा?
मेरे को भारत सही लगा, इसलिए भारत रखा है हम लोगों ने। भारत के तो भारत ही रखेंगे ना, भारत के रहवासी भारत रखेंगे ना, पाकिस्तान नहीं रख सकते ना अपने।
अच्छा, इधर मैंने सुना पास में इलाके को छोटा पाकिस्तान कहते हैं।
हाँ, पर डेंजर एरिया पूरा जुआपुरा, ये नहीं आगे का जुआपुरा है ना, वो डेंजर एरिया है।
क्यों?
क्योंकि इधर ये रहने नहीं देते, डेंजर नहीं रहेंगे तो रहने नहीं देंगे उनको, ऐसा आएगा वहाँ पे।
यहाँ कोई लोन पास नहीं होती, कोई चीज़ पास नहीं होता है, सरकारी कोई लोन पास नहीं होती
जुआपुरा में कोई सरकारी लोन पास नहीं होते, कोई लोन नहीं मिलता इधर।
अच्छा, पर पाकिस्तान क्यों कहते थे उसको?
सो मोमेडियन रहते हैं इसलिए पाकिस्तान नाम गुजराती लोगों ने दिया है, कोई मोमेडियन ने दिया नहीं है। मिनी पाकिस्तान लोगों ने दिया नाम कि मिनी पाकिस्तान है, इधर जाना नहीं है हम लोगों को।
बीफ खाते हो?
हाँ
हाँ, इधर बिकता भी है?
हाँ बिकता है।
आगे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं करता है? कोई
प्रॉब्लम? बीफ मतलब गाय वगैरह का नहीं।
अच्छा,
ये पाड़ा
भैंस?
हाँ, भैंस का बच्चा था ना।
हाँ हाँ,
उसका।
अच्छा।
गाय का नहीं।
अच्छा,
गाय अलाउड ही नहीं है हमारे, काटने भी नहीं देते, काटते भी नहीं हम लोग।
हाँ हाँ, अच्छा,
हम लोग ही नहीं काटने देते गाय, काटना पाड़ा काटो, खुद ही बोलते हैं पाड़ा काटो, गाय मत काटो। गाय माता है, माता को नहीं कर सकते ना।
But when the British arrived, they started taking interest in Indian history and Indian culture and all that. And the first history of India was written in 1818 by James Mill, in which he divided the history of India into three parts: the Hindu, the Muslim, and the modern, which is the British. So he was the first one to give this very monolithic understanding of Indian history and culture. And also about the Aryans, you know, Max Muller and others talked about the Aryans and their origins, and how the Vedic culture was something that was authored by the Aryan in the, you know, in that period and all that. So this periodization of Indian history remained, and the first and second generations of English educated Indian middle class, all men, came to understand and to explain and to respond to the British presence. They also adopted this tripartite division of Indian history, and they invented a tradition which was the Hindu tradition, the golden age of the ancient India. So the tradition that was invented was primarily a Hindu tradition in that sense, Brahminical, Sanskrit, based on Sanskrit literature, and again very exclusive, as I said, excluded women and Dalits. Sanskrit texts have no place for women and Dalits.
The whole word secularism is a European word, but people of a different culture, and different cultures are different nuances of the culture. See, where there in this continent, unlike the Europe, the religious practices, which is one of the important base of culture, were so varied and so plural, because the Hinduism is a folk religion. There is one Hinduism which is a textual Hinduism, based on a Manusmriti and a Brahminical. So the Brahminical institutionalization practiced by a small section of society, but they dominate about it over a period of time. Whatever you call it, the Aryans or whatever. But large number of people were following their own religion, old religious practices, their concept of a God, concept of a next life, concept of a birth, and say, we don't have any other words. So we have imposed a word called the Hinduism, but it's a folk, and folk has a varieties of it. But all this existed simultaneously. Only thing is that over a period of time, the dominant section of the society either co-opted them or imposed their own idea on them and made them as a lower caste or made them a Kshatriya and that kind of a thing. But they had their own practice around it. But because of economic power and political power, slowly this diversity seems to be going away.
Hari Om Padaram Karane Srenuya Madeva Padaram Vashyema Shagarajatara.
જમ્મુ કાશ્મીર સ્ટડી સેન્ટર એ 2010-11 થી દિલ્હીમાં કાર્યરત છે. ભારતભરમાં 20 સ્થાનો ઉપર જમ્મુ કાશ્મીર સ્ટડી સેન્ટર દ્વારા કાર્ય કરવામાં ચાલુ રહ્યું છે, રિસર્ચ થાય છે, અને આનો મુખ્ય ઉદ્દેશ એ અત્યાર સુધી ભારતમાં કાશ્મીર અને જમ્મુ વિશે જે ભ્રામકતા હતી, જે કિસ્સે કહાનીયા જેને કહેવામાં આવતું હતું, જે બધાને સાંભળવામાં આવતું હતું, એને બાજુ પર મૂકી અને જે લીગલ ડોક્યુમેન્ટ છે એની ચર્ચા થાય, લોકો સામે વાત આવે.
तो इसलिए एक आज ऐसा हमें मंच मिला है आचार्य अभिनव के माध्यम से कि हजारों वर्ष की जो पुरानी परंपरा इस देश को एक रखती आई है, उसको 1000 वर्ष पहले आचार्य अभिनव गुप्त ने जो दिया है उसके साथ जोड़कर हम एक मालिका बना सकें, ताकि भारत का जो अपना चित्र हमारे आंखों के सामने रहता है, कल्पना में भी रहता है, वो फिर से एक बार एक सूत्र में बंध जाए. इस अवसर का लाभ उठाकर हमने ये प्रयास किया है. लोगों ने प्रश्न खड़े किए, जम्मू कश्मीर की आज़ादी चाहिए, जम्मू कश्मीर का विलय कानूनी है नहीं है, बहुत सारी बातें हैं, हम सब जानते हैं, अखबारों में पढ़ते हैं. हम दूसरी तरह से प्रश्न पर विचार कर सकते हैं क्या? सवाल खड़ा होता है कि 15 अगस्त 47 को भारत का विभाजन हो गया, पाकिस्तान में जाना था, नहीं तो भारत में आना था. कोई कोई ये भी कहता है कि आज़ाद भी रहना था. जो भी हो, इस पर मैं बात करूंगा. लेकिन 26 अक्टूबर 1947 को जम्मू कश्मीर का भारत में विलय हुआ. कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं जो अनेक बहाने, अनेक कारण बताकर कहते हैं कि वो विलय जब नहीं था, उस पर कोई सवाल है, कोई जनसंग्रह होना था, वो बाकी सब होना था. प्रश्न को उलटकर अगर करें कि अगर 26 अक्टूबर को भारत में विलय नहीं हुआ होता तो कश्मीर क्या भारत नहीं था? 15 अगस्त के पहले जम्मू कश्मीर भारत नहीं था क्या? जम्मू कश्मीर भारत हजारों साल से था. उस विलय के कारण भारत में नहीं आया. हजारों साल से वो कश्मीर भारत में था.
But the other kind of the cultural nationalism that I talked about earlier was something that was picked up by a group of Brahmins, upper caste of course, Brahmins in Maharashtra, who created this idea of a Hindu nation. Savarkar and then Golwalkar. They wrote about it also, what is a Hindu nation. Savarkar has a book and it's about Hindutva. He coins the word Hindutva. And he collapses the difference between culture and nation, and he says that, Hindu culture, I'm not going into details about it, but that is another idea of the nation that emerges, which had nothing to do with anti-colonial nationalism. In fact, they were not really part of the freedom movement, but they wanted to create this exclusively Hindu form of nationalism, and that was the main objective of the foundation of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which has remained till now.
श्रीनगर उसकी राजधानी है कश्मीर की, हम जानते हैं. किसने बताया? सम्राट अशोक ने बताया. अशोक कहाँ का राजा था? मगध का राजा था, कलिंग का राजा था. अगर मगध के राजा और कलिंग के राजा ने श्रीनगर बसाया, अगर भारत नहीं था तो क्यों बसाया उसने? कोई दूसरे देश में जाकर अपनी राजधानियां बनाता है क्या? भारत था इसलिए वो वहां पर गया. आप महाभारत उठाकर देखिए, भगवान कृष्ण 2 बार गए. कश्मीर के राजा का वध भी उन्होंने किया क्योंकि वो जरासंध के साथ मथुरा पर आक्रमण करने आया था, उसको मारा. लेकिन उन्होंने उसकी महारानी को राजतिलक भी किया. भगवान कृष्ण ने उसकी महारानी का राजतिलक किया. क्यों किया? अगर भारत नहीं था तो? अगर हम सब सिंधु सभ्यता के लोग हैं, हमारे ऋषि मुनियों ने उस सिंधु के तट पर अगर तपस्याएं की हैं, हमारे वेद और उपनिषद अगर उस सिंधु के तट पर लिखे गए हैं, तो भारत नहीं था ऐसा कोई कह सकता है क्या? भारत नहीं था और हम वहां उपनिषद लिख रहे थे. वो भारत था, इसलिए हम वहां थे, हमारे पूर्वज वहां थे. हमारे जिन जीवन मूल्यों का गर्व हम करते हैं, जो शाश्वत मूल्य इस धरती से उपजे, वो कहाँ उपजे? उस सरस्वती और सिंधु के तट पर ही उपजे ना. तो वो जम्मू कश्मीर जो हमारी संस्कृति जहां पर पली है, बड़ी है, उसका पालना है, जहां बचपन बीता है हमारी इस संस्कृति का, वो जम्मू कश्मीर है.
Because as I say that the nation, the whole idea of a nation is a 17th century creation. There was no nation about it. But there was a religion in the past. So people of a different religious practices used to live together. The nation has come, and when the idea of a nation come, idea of religion was not there. In fact, the idea of religion and the state relationships is independent. And with the Enlightenment, the whole idea that state has nothing to do with religion. There is a modern state about this kind of thing. But a few reactionaries, for their own interest, wanted a homogeneity of a one religion to impose their religious idea. Because even there, you see, religion is also not the same. Take Islam. The nature of Islam varies all throughout the world. The Arab people are different in their practices than the Indians or the Pakistanis. So those who are dominated, they want to impose their own idea of a religion. Similar about the Hinduism. As I say, that Hinduism has a lot of varieties. We have more than 120 Ramayans. Or same the Mahabharata, same the legend. We have one legend about Basmasu and another legend about the Durga. Now, as a tolerant, this all existed. As a tolerant people, we should respect each other's beliefs. And if we respect each other's beliefs, there will be harmony. In a harmony, then the unity. And unity can develop a bond as a citizen. Because the idea of a nation is based on a citizenship and not idea of religion.
अच्छा ये बताओ वो कौन है? वो कौन है? किसका फोटो है?
मैंने नहीं
हाँ? तुमको नहीं पता वो कौन है? तुम लोग में से किसी को पता है वो कौन है? ऊपर किसका फोटो है?
पता नहीं।
बता बता। तुमको नहीं पता? किसका फोटो है? कौन से भगत सिंह?
देखा है फोटो पर नाम तेरे में भी देखा है। मैं किसको बोलूं? आनो फादर किंग बोलो। पुलिस।
पुलिस से? कहाँ के?
भारत।
भारत के? अच्छा सबसे अच्छा देश कौन सा है?
भारत। इंडिया।
सबसे अच्छा? क्यों? क्यों क्यों?
भारत।
क्यों? हाँ?
ये क्या कहता है?